Hello and welcome to the TotallyHooked.net podcast. If you're in the DC area, we are totally snowed in today. Federal workers, contractors, everybody, we're snowed in. And today I wanted to talk about Transcendental Meditation. It's something that's been life transforming for me. And sometimes people are curious about what Transcendental Meditation is, how it's different from others, and a lot of the benefits. So without further ado, today we're going to be talking about Transcendental Meditation. All right. Can you guys hear the enthusiasm in my voice? Maybe it's because I woke up this morning and I discovered that I don't have to go to work today. And isn't that a great surprise? We got a lot of snow last night. I saw it coming in yesterday and just was hoping, and I kept checking opm.gov until I think at 9:30 last night I got the email, but I was already in bed asleep, so I didn't get to know until like 3 a.m. this morning when I checked and woke up. But I hope everybody's doing great today. I hope everything's going awesome. Just some updates. So I've been actively seeking potential interview people, and I got a reply from a man who has a number 30. One of his books was ranked number 30 on Amazon.com. He's sold, I think, something like 40,000 books. And I'm in the process of putting everything together so that I can have, it would be my first formal interview for this show. I've done interview style things in the past, but I'm really excited because this guy's story is really amazing. He went from being bankrupt to now he sells science fiction novels professionally. And, once I get my whole podcast set up, I'm thinking we might do it over Skype or through the phone. I'll figure it out. I'm going to get everything squared away so that we can do an interview. But I'm really excited because this guy, we need to get more. We need to show gratitude for people that have had success, and I think everybody's getting more into this mindset of, when you see somebody who's had any form of success, we need to praise them and be happy for them. All too often, sometimes in this area, sometimes around here, we hear people that if somebody else does better, then it's like we see it as a negative. And we're evolving people, we're transcending, and that actually segues into today's podcast, which we're going to talk about Transcendental Meditation. I've done this. I talked about Transcendental Meditation in the past. I've been formally practicing. I started in January of 2013, so just over 2 years today, this month, in which in the TM group, that's actually starting to be a little more of a veteran practitioner. But as we all know in this podcast, I like to do a word of the day. That way no matter what happens, we get something out of today's. Our brain is improved in one way. And the only way I've thought to do that is to come up with a new word at every podcast and offer myself, my listeners, everybody the chance to learn something new. And it may be a word that's new to you, or it may be a word that's not new to you. But the good thing about it is it's something that we're adding into our consciousness. So today's word is superfluous. Finally, thank you, Merriam-Webster's Dictionary, for giving me a word that I am familiar with, that I'm not mispronouncing on the podcast. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm just so excited for today. It's just, I feel like a little I'm just a little happy guy. I'm just a happy guy. Today's word of the day is superfluous. And what superfluous means is exceeding what is sufficient or necessary. Extra. Kind of like extra credit, I guess. Superfluous. Exceeding what is sufficient necessary. I might have botched that up a little bit. Because the second definition says it's not needed or unnecessary. Superfluous. So here's an example of superfluous used in a sentence. The textbook includes so much superfluous information that students often overlook key points. So it says, exceeding what is sufficient or necessary. This is extra. Like superfluous is like extra bulk stuff that, you could trim the fat, so to speak. It's not needed, unnecessary. So that's the word of the day, superfluous. How can you use that word today? Superfluous. Stuff that's, what kind of stuff is superfluous in your life? What kind of stuff do you need to cut out of your life because it's just wasting your time? It's just not needed. What kind of superfluous stuff can we remove? And if today is a snow day, we have the day off, so maybe we can be reflecting and thinking about the kinds of things that are just not serving us well. That way we can focus more of our energy, focus more of our time onto the things that are important. And with that, I'd like to introduce to us a technology, because it is technology backed by science that I've been using. It's technology that's been around for thousands of years, but was formally introduced when Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, if nobody knows who that is, that's okay. He's the guy who taught Transcendental Meditation. He brought it to the West. There was a movement in the 60s. The Beatles learned Transcendental Meditation from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Paul McCartney, he's been a long-term practitioner. So's the drummer Ringo Starr of the Beatles. They support the TM movement. And if you start researching it, you'll find a lot of creative types, especially a lot of people in Hollywood practice TM. Jerry Seinfeld, Ellen DeGeneres, the doctor, gosh, what's his name? Not Dr. Phil. The doctor that a lot of people are saying is not, oh man, what's his name? I don't know the doctor's name. You guys know who I'm talking about. But there's a laundry list of people, and not just Hollywood types, professionals of all kinds who practice Transcendental Meditation. And it's been recently on the American Heart Association, which is, to get this kind of backing, it demands a rigorous amount of science and research. But the American Heart Association recently came out and said that regular practicing of Transcendental Meditation can lead to lowered heart disease. So it's been proven. There's, at this point, again, if you look it up, you'll find meta studies, which are not just studies. Meta studies are where they take all the studies and they combine them into this larger thing. And I think there's over 500 formal scientific studies that have happened on Transcendental Meditation specifically, not just mantra meditation, not just like the Zen meditation. We're talking Transcendental Meditation is the most highly, as I understand, it's the most rigorously studied meditation. And it's been proven to have multiple benefits, including emotional intelligence, creative intelligence, being more in the moment, overcoming post-traumatic stress disorder. The list just goes on and on. For me, it's been such a transformative experience. I feel compelled to share this wonderful, just this technology that has changed my life, and I think it's changing a lot of people's lives. And at this point, meditation is no longer a fringe idea or a fringe thing. It's hit the masses in a way that's just absolutely beautiful. And when we discover the kinds of benefits it has, and the benefits of even group meditation, it's just phenomenal. So what kind of got me into Transcendental Meditation? First off, I'd been practicing meditation on and off for years. I was actually raised Catholic, and I don't think I take all of the things that I learned from being raised Catholic, and I take all the good things and I still transcend and include the good things from it. And I was in, I was in the military, I was in the Air Force, and I tried doing my own little forms of meditation. And I think that's how a lot of people start. They hear maybe podcasts like this, or they read blogs about the benefits of meditation, and maybe they take a class. There's a lot of quote unquote classes in the DC area where you can learn how to meditate. And for me, it started in business school, actually. I was taking to get, like, first off, the good business schools are AACSB accredited, and that means it's like a formal accreditation where, like Harvard and Yale, they all have AACSB accreditation, and basically you have to have a certain set of core classes, accounting, finance, marketing, and organizational behavior. So I was taking organizational behavior, which is it's often a joke, I guess, in business school, because it's not as, it's like your Stephen Covey 101 type stuff, like teamwork, power, how to get more power. But man, that was like drinking from the fire hose, because there was just so many things, teamwork, and I'm sure I could do a better job at describing this, but to me, the most memorable part was that my professor, who had actually gotten this from Jesuit priests, the Jesuits actually there's a lot of Jesuit priests who practice meditation. A lot of Catholic priests practice meditation. What we understand, first off, when I'm talking about transcendental meditation, I'm not talking about a religion here. I'm talking about a technique that has been proven, and when it's properly understood and properly practiced, has proven time and again to have a lot of life-changing benefits. Anyway, so in this class, it wasn't transcendental meditation. What we had to do was create a spreadsheet and track. Like every morning, we had to do a form of mantra meditation first thing in the morning, or it could be any time during the day, I think. But I chose in the morning because I wanted to start out fresh. And you had to track your results and report your results weekly. And in the past, I'd tried meditation on and off, but it wasn't until I took that class and I formally saw my life change. I saw things like, I just saw benefits happening by practicing my meditation every day. I was like, man, I'm becoming more productive. I just feel more emotional intelligence. And for me, the way I understand emotional intelligence is it's kind of the capacity to overcome failure. It's not this, like, I don't even know. I can't even say how I used to interpret, but people used to think that it means like I know certain things about emotions. I think it goes a little bit deeper than that, because when emotions hit you, it's a little bit different. Like, I think it's understanding how emotional decisions impact so much of our lives. And if you're controlled by a certain emotion, it's going to overtake all your logical capacities for making decisions. So when you meditate every day, what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a place where you can accept, transcend and include those emotions. And then you got to kind of release the emotions a little bit. And when you release the emotions, it's like your cup is full. You're able to, and I'm just speaking symbolically here, you're able to allow more into your life so you can make those kinds of key important decisions. And then you realize, well, yeah, things are effed up right now. Things are fucked, but I can still focus on the core things I need to focus on to improve my life. And that's where transcendental meditation helps. So I started practicing it. And then after I finished, I was like, after that class was over, I wanted to to take it to the next level, so to speak. So I did the research. I looked up, I think there's four main primary kinds of meditation. There's the one I think that everybody imagines is so important. It's this like, it requires hard work. It's like this, like you have to sit straight and you have to focus and concentrate. And that is absolutely opposite of what transcendental meditation is. Transcendental meditation is not, it's the simplest thing. It is so simple that a child can do it. In fact, it's so simple, people will still make it more complicated than it really is. And that's the challenge with transcendental meditation. It's like anything. It's so simple. You think, well, how could these benefits, how could all of these things be possible? You almost don't want to believe it because it's so simple. So you play it off like it's nothing, like it's not legit or if it's not working. Anyway, so I started studying and researching, and I was like, I want to learn this. So they had an Arlington TM Center here in the Washington, D.C. area. I signed up for one of the introductory things. They have these introduction things which are free. And I was still a student, so I was able to get you get 50% off on the actual course itself when you take it if you're a student. So I wanted to go ahead and take it while I was still a student and get my 50% off. There is a price to pay, and it's not cheap. But here I am over 2 years later, and I think I've doubled and tripled, quadrupled, multitudes more, whatever I paid back in 2013, in January of 2013 when I first learned Transcendental Meditation. It's a lifetime thing. And I paid that money too because that to me was the motivation. I'd tried starting meditation, but I was like, this is the time, this is the place where I'm going to finally overcome this and I'm going to do it. And by putting the money down, I was like, that's going to be what keeps me going because I'd actually put money on this. And I am the type of person, I think you have to be the kind of person that believes that everything that you spend your money on is sort of a investment. It has to come back to you many times more. You know, I try to think like Warren Buffett, like everything where I'm putting my money, it should be something, and it's something that provides me more value, more and more value, that it comes back to me. It's just something that I personally believe. And it works. So I took the course, which is, it happens so fast. Transcendental meditation is one of those things, and Ken Wilber has talked about this. Transcendental meditation is one of those things that it happens instantly. It's not something where it takes a lot of time. You can start feeling the effects right as they get started. And I remember it took me, I think I felt something the first time I did it, but by the third day, I just instantly noticed more energy and I was more loving. Like I was starting to just laugh for no reason. Like it's hard to describe, but I was out with my girlfriend at the time and we would just go out. I remember sitting with her, we were having dinner together and I just couldn't stop laughing about stuff. Like it was like uncontrolled laughter of just like, gosh, everything is just so, there's just so much joy. Have you ever had that feeling like you just have so much joy, you just can't hold back the joy that you're having? And so I was just laughing. And I think that the first 2 or 3 months practicing were just cathartic for me because I just know all these deep emotions that I had were sort of being released. And I'm not one of those people. Again, I was in the Air Force and I like to think that my childhood, everything was pretty good for me. I don't think I had anything traumatic that happened to me. This is one of those things where you take somebody that's already good and then you make them into something where Transcendental Meditation made me into something far better than I could imagine. And it didn't hit me how lucky I was until I went on my first official Transcendental Meditation retreat about 3 or 4 months later. Because I went to this Transcendental Meditation retreat and I saw there's some people that have been practicing far longer than I've been alive, but there was a lot of people that had overcome some serious shit. There was a kid with autism. He was practicing TM. His mom took him there and he was overcoming his autism. There was 2 or 3 alcoholics on my retreat and they had so much peace and they were so kind. And there was a man who worked at the Library of Congress who his wife of 30 plus years had passed away 6 months prior. And he was smiling and he had just learned Transcendental Meditation like 3 months after she had passed, because it was a way for him to try to overcome everything in his life. So I saw all those people with real problems and I saw them practicing TM daily. And there's some people in my personal life who practice TM as well. I know a cop that practices TM in this area. I just have a few friends that like to practice it. I've made more friends going on these TM retreats. So when you see other people, gosh, I was on another retreat just this last year, and this guy had been practicing like over 30 years, and now I'm getting a little speculative. But when you're in the presence of somebody that has been going that long, that deep, you just can see the light kind of shining on them. And he just seemed so calm. And another thing that they say about people that practice TM, I know this is for sure, people look much younger. Like this guy must have been, I think he was in his 70s, but he looked like he might have been in his 50s. And that's like at that TM retreat, there was a lot of older people, but they seemed like so innocent, like children, I'll be honest. And you just start noticing things. You just become what I was told is some of the symptoms of Transcendental meditation practice are the innocence that comes. The aging process kind of reverses. I know people, I always have to kind of say my age because people sometimes think I'm much younger than I am. And I'm fine with that. I've experienced a lot of life, a whole lot of life. I've had a lot of like real life experiences, but I still maintain because I get enough sleep, I eat right, I exercise, and I practice Transcendental Meditation. And because of that, I think I look much younger than I am. And I'm also, I got to be honest too, like I think this is just me personally, but after starting TM, I just felt like I did become more attractive. I think more people, and attraction doesn't have to just be physical. I think I became more attractive socially. I stopped hanging out in certain crowds of people that weren't helping me, and I started to attract more and more people that had the same kinds of attitudes that I had. It was just unconscious. It didn't happen immediately. It happened over about 3 to 6 months. I noticed that at the time my grades in school were doing a lot better, and I could see other people dealing with the same problem. I could see other people sometimes, and they were in a certain pain that I kind of disassociated myself with. And that was the big thing where I'm talking, I was saying about emotional intelligence. Well, what I noticed for me is that I wasn't so caught up in the emotions of things. In other words, I wasn't creating an identity. I wasn't, you know how when you get angry, you kind of identify with it. You're like, that's me. That's who I am. That's how it is. I'm just pissed off right now. People will even say it like, I'm mad. And then they are. That's what they did. They created an identity. When I've been practicing enough TM to where the emotion, when those emotions come up, I just kind of allow them in a way, or I guess my awareness is increased to the point where it's not something that's so much of a detriment. And I'm still climbing that mountain and I'm still practicing. But that was just me personally. But so many people have had so many beneficial things, beneficial relationships. I do think that it makes people more attractive. I was told that, meditators can kind of notice other meditators. And I think it's true. Excuse me. I think it's kind of true because you start to see those people. You can just see the micro expressions on people's faces that are still struggling with whatever emotional state. You can see the pain. The reason I think meditation works is because twice a day, if you're practicing transcendental meditation, twice a day, you have to go into a space. It's 20 minutes that you practice twice a day of meditation. And what it does is it gives you a space. It's your time to kind of release. I think the way that they describe it is you release those emotions, you release all that stuff, and it's so simple. It's when they hook up the electroencephalograms or whatever they're called, those diodes to check your brain waves. They've noticed that people who are long-term practitioners of transcendental meditation, they go into a state. You're sitting up when you're practicing it. You're sitting very comfortably, and you're able to go into a state that is deeper than sleep. And I can tell you, this meditation, you're awake and you're conscious, but your whole body is deeper than sleep, but you're still aware of everything around you, if that makes any sense. This is my personal experience. Other people can say the same thing. I've heard the similar people say the same thing. But what happens with me is, my whole body is deeply asleep and I'm still awake. And the longer I practice, the more I do it. Every day I learn those benefits of just sitting in peace and being okay with it. The difference, I think, with transcendental meditation and like mantra meditation, where you're just repeating a mantra, is because in business school that was good, but I wasn't going deep into the to that state of consciousness. I remember my mantra meditation. The hardest part when I was doing this in business school was the first 3 to 5 minutes. I would start thinking about things like, oh shit, I've got to pay the bills, or damn, I have so many things going on today. I don't have enough time to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Transcendental meditation is understood in a completely different way. Transcendental meditation is not work. It's so simple. It's about the body kind of relaxing and releasing it. And it's really hard to do wrong. And whenever I've gone to these meditation sessions and people are talking, usually it's them just verifying that they're doing it right, because it's so simple. Like I said, even a child can practice TM. And when you start practicing it more and more, though, you get a sense for what that deep state of, I don't know if it's the theta brainwaves, but you start to know what it feels like to go into these deep states of consciousness. And when you keep going into those deep states of consciousness over and over and over, you start to develop a spiritual, physical power. And it doesn't even have to be any of this like belief-oriented stuff. You just become better able to think and focus more clearly, because something happens. For me, what happens is, like, whenever I go down there, like, let's say I've got a lot of difficult things. Maybe somebody wrote like something that I didn't like. Maybe I saw something in the news that was really difficult. It just bugged me. When I go into those states of meditation twice a day, I kind of let that go and release it, and I see how things really are. And what's just so awesome about that is like, I'm just thinking like, I started practicing and okay. So actually I want to backtrack a little bit. This is the difference. I think Transcendental Meditation, like I said before, it's practiced twice a day for 20 minutes. So what they suggest is first thing in the morning before eating, you meditate. You just sit and meditate. It's nothing formal. This is not the Zen Buddhism. You don't have to sit with your back straightened. And one thing that I learned very early on with Transcendental Meditation, so like I think we like to show these like Western photos in like the yoga ad where it shows this woman in yoga pants or this man in yoga pants. They're just sitting like back straight on floor, and it looks like they're in this like heightened state of awareness. That looks really painful to be doing that for 20 minutes. You can practice Transcendental Meditation on a chair and just sit there. And you can, it's not this like, this hard thing. And by the way, it came from India. There's a lot of Vedic stuff that they always talk about. I don't get too caught up. Just like anything, you can try to make more stuff out of it, but I just like to do the stuff that's been proven by science, and it's been proven just to be all around a good thing. So I'll sit there. No. So what I'm talking about is, so you practice it twice a day for 20 minutes, once in the morning and once in the evening. And it just puts your mind in a peaceful place. And I think that's why I'm able to be more creative. I noticed that after I started doing it, I started writing a little bit more. I started taking more photos, and I could do things like podcasting. This podcast, I don't know if it would be possible if I wasn't practicing Transcendental Meditation regularly. The reason being, I think before like I started this, I would have resistance in my mind. There would be mental blockages, mental emotional things that did not sort of allow me to make those things. I didn't have the long-term. I think that meditation itself is a strategy. I think it's a strategic long-term thing. Even though we can all learn and practice meditation instantly, it's strategic in that it's a technique, and over time you see the benefits. Like doing this podcast is a strategic move in my case. Like I would like to have 100,000 listeners, but if you want a fire, you have to first bring in the wood, and you have to build the fire first. You can't just get a fire without putting in the work. And meditation is very similar. Meditation is more like a seed that you plant, and if you allow the seed to grow over time, you will reap the benefits. And they always talk about this when after I learned it on all the retreats. It's called the productivity paradox or something. I don't know that's not what it's officially called, but this is what it is. You start learning Transcendental Meditation, you start practicing it, and you start feeling good. Your life just miraculously starts changing. You're able to be more productive, accomplish more things, take on more projects. You have better relationships. And somewhere along the line, you start to think, well, I have so much on my plate, I can't practice meditation. And then people stop practicing Transcendental Meditation, and then everything just falls apart and it goes to total shit. That's sort of how it works. There's a lot of I like to think about Clint Eastwood. I know there's like some people love him, some people hate him. You know, he's gotten a lot older now, but the reason I always kind of like Clint Eastwood is because that man's been practicing well over 40 years. He's been practicing transcendental meditation over 40 years. Imagine that every single day. I think that's part of, I was reflecting on this the other day, like, why is American Sniper such a popular movie? Because he got the phone call, like, not long after was the guy's name Chris Kyle? I can't remember the guy's name. I don't even know. Not long after the Navy SEAL sniper was killed at the shooting range, you know, I don't know if it was months or whatever. Not too long after, Clint Eastwood was given the go ahead, and that movie came out. I thought it was pretty quick, pretty fast turnaround. Other filmmakers like David Lynch, the director of Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese is also a practitioner of transcendental meditation. Film directors is a little bit of a different breed because they are incredibly creative people, but they're also really great managers of people. They're great people and they're managers of people. A director has a lot of deadlines, a lot of stakeholders, a lot of very stressful things going on. And you notice, some of the greatest directors of all time practice transcendental meditation. Like I said, Martin Scorsese, Clint Eastwood, and I'm sure there's many, many more. And to be a good director, creativity is often underrated, in my opinion, because in order to be creative, you have to be in a good place mentally. And the strong, respectable, the powerful creative people, they don't see being creative, I think, as just being creative the way, like, they can be logical, they can be smart, intelligent, and creative. That's actually the genius of it. There was this book by Robert Greene called Mastery. And for people who aren't familiar with Robert Greene, he's the author of 48 Laws of Power. I might even do a book review about him. It's about that book at some point because it's such a great book. But he breaks down mastery, and mastery is this idea of there was, you know how it takes 10,000 hours. People have said that to become a master, and you know sometimes it's been proven wrong. Like some people don't believe it, but the point is, if you want to be a master, if you want to be a world class at something, it takes a lot of work. You can't just get all the benefits without putting in the work. So what I liked is there's different phases of mastery. There's a part where you have to be like a social master, and eventually once you get to the top, though, I thought it was interesting that you're the creative, there's like the final phase is this creative phase where you're so much of a master, you've gone past the phase of the haters. Because early on, when you start becoming great at something, you're going to get resistance from the haters. I just call it the haters. He has a better term for it, and I'm just kind of botching it up. But I think for this context, for this conversation, I think we understand what I'm talking about. But eventually, you become so undeniable at your skill, at your practice, that it doesn't even matter. And then after you become undeniable, you hit this creativity phase. And I think, you know, he used people like Albert Einstein, Paul Graham of the Y Combinator, this guy Ramachandran, V.S. Ramachandran, who I think he was an elite Microsoft psychologist or something. I can't remember, but long story short, what these people had in common is later in life, after spending years becoming a master at what they were becoming a master at, they had it was their creativity. It was their creative mind that took them to the next level. And that's why I never underestimate the power of a human's capacity to create something. And people will look at creativity like it's not, like, how dare you charge me for music? How dare you charge for art? Anybody can do art. Creativity is business creativity is different. And I'm so glad that they're teaching meditation in business school now. I'm so glad that they're teaching, that a lot of business leaders are learning meditation, specifically transcendental meditation. And there's a huge benefit. You get the creative benefits. You also become you get the social benefits. I think the social benefits are, for me, is like, I was less of an asshole. I just there's not a better way to put it. All that shit that used to piss me off about people and stuff. I just, I don't know. I was just a better person to be around. I found myself attracting higher quality ladies, and I found myself becoming stronger because I could now, that year, the first year that I learned, I started running a lot more. I lost some weight. I lost, because I just noticed that before I learned Transcendental Meditation, I would only run like 3 miles, and I think I ran it in about 20 minutes. 20 minutes was like my little thing. I would go in, I'd do my 20 minutes and leave. And that was, I think, that was all that my awareness was capable of doing. That was all that my mind could do. And after practicing Transcendental Meditation for several months, I noticed that I could go a full hour of running without needing to stop. And I could run, 5 miles at a time, 10 miles, because I was able to just be in the moment and not, I think what I used to do before is I'd run for 20 minutes. I'd just listen to whatever cool music. I used to listen to a lot of dubstep, and I still like dubstep, but I would listen to it like, yeah, this is like powerful. I got to run really hard, and I'd burn myself out. When I started practicing Transcendental Meditation, it was more of a long-term strategy. So I was taking that long-term choice of running for an hour and having myself mentally, and I think sitting for 20 minutes a day, twice a day, kind of put me in that place where I could run for a full hour and it not be a problem. Then I shifted over to weightlifting. So my tolerance for pain definitely went up a lot. Like, I think I can handle a lot of pain a lot better, a lot of emotional pain. I'm seeing myself like things that used to really hurt me aren't hurting me at all anymore. And there's this really cool thing. When I was, last year I went on a Transcendental Meditation retreat in North Carolina, and they had these, it's called Maharishi's something of invincibility. Something of invincibility. And I really liked that idea. Like, we're talking people that have been practicing for many, many years, like 40 plus years of Transcendental Meditation. And there's this idea that, I mean, no, you're not like physically invincible. Like, you're not going to have like superhero powers or anything. I think the way I understood it, this is how I interpreted their invincibility. You have the emotional capacity, you have inside of you the power where no matter what happens in life, you still have this meditation which keeps you grounded. And there's something really powerful in that, because people can easily be swayed. I talked very briefly about addiction, but you'll find that a lot of people who've overcome addiction have used meditation, transcendental meditation, as a way to overcome addictions. And you'll see things like self-control will start to go up. People, maybe instead of eating that that horrible meal that's only going to make you feel bad. Okay, here's something else. This was a huge insight. So when I started meditating, and this is something they'll tell you, is you start meditating and you just start focusing on the things that just makes your life better. And you don't deflect it. When people start complimenting you, when you start, it's your birthright. I love that they say that too. When you take it like success is your birthright, no matter where you are, like everything that you have, it is yours. And it's not, I say that with humility. Like I said, regular transcendental meditation practitioners are very humble. And there's this childlike innocence with people who've been doing it for a long time, especially. I'm only at, 2 years. And according to Ken Wilber, if we're looking at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or is it Graves, Heather Graves, or basically human spiritual development, they say after the age of like 25 or something, your brain is due to neuroplasticity, you have the capacity to go to higher stages or phases of evolution. But for most people, the brain is wired at about 25, and unless you're actively trying to better yourself, you're going to stay at that level of consciousness. In order to go to the next level, it demands you personally going to the next level. Like it has to be a conscious choice. So what Ken Wilber says, what he suggests is the only way he has ever seen anybody evolve beyond that 25-year-old capacity, this through neuroplasticity, is through transcendental meditation. And I totally understand it, because when you're a child and you look at things, and this is just me just going off. When I was a child, I saw the world without prejudgment, and I think I was able to learn a lot faster. When we take away, and as we get older, we start to add our own projections to things. That's another thing. You start to notice, what I started to notice when I was meditating is how much I used to project my ideas, and then I stopped projecting a lot, like onto others and stuff like that. But you also start to see people all around you, and they're kind of projecting their issues. So it gives you a sense of empathy where you can see what it's like. And man, I knew this was going to happen. We've only gone 47 minutes and I haven't even scratched the surface of this stuff. And you say this transcendental meditation goes deep. And on this wonderful snowed in morning, I don't know, I was just inspired. I was just feeling so good this morning. And I just wanted to share something that has been life transforming for me, and maybe it might add some value. You could always do research or transcendental meditation yourself. I'm going to fall into a different kind of a boat here, because me personally, I didn't learn TM until I was ready, and I wouldn't suggest anyone else do the same until they're ready. I think if you want to get started right now, you can always just do regular mantra meditation. A lot of people say there's nothing wrong with it. I think that they're very similar. TM is practiced twice a day. They give you a specific mantra at the TM center, and they have practitioners that are highly experts at transcendental meditation. Like I learned mine from an expert. I suggest you also learn yours from an expert. But again, if you're getting pumped up hearing this, and today's the snow day and you just want to meditate, I'd say feel free to just do mantra meditation. You can just type in mantra meditation and look it up. But if you really want the real deal, in my opinion, what I suggest is going to a center, talking to somebody who's done meditation and actually learning transcendental meditation. We're lucky in this area. There's actually people in this area. There was a 1990s study on transcendental meditation, and they were able to correlate scientifically that when you get enough people meditating in a certain area, I believe the number is 1%. If you can get just 1% or more practicing TM, the crime rate actually goes down in that area. And they brought a lot of people in one summer, and it was in the 90s when the crime in DC was pretty bad, and they were able to prove that the practicing of TM actually had a correlation with lowered crime rates. I believe it. I've talked about this in the past with different podcasts, but here's how I think that can manifest in a lot of different ways. On one way, there's an energy output that people put with their minds, and when they're all thinking the same. I mean, it's getting kind of spiritual and stuff in ways that it's just too esoteric for me to talk about. But then there's the whole, if you've got like 1,000 people that are all meditating in a group, they're just going to give off good vibes. And if they give off good vibes, that's going to spread. Like maybe it could be as simple as a smile on their face. Maybe after they finish their meditation, they go back to the hotel and they smile, and it just kind of, it makes the next person that receives a smile, makes them a little happier. And then that person, it just spreads to the point where people that maybe were going to revert to violence just choose not to revert to violence. That's just one way that I can see it manifesting logically and realistically. Another way I see it is it just goes back to that invincibility thing. When you have been practicing Transcendental Meditation long enough, you do sort of become invincible in a way, because people, it just can't hurt you. You know, like when people try to throw things at you emotionally, when they try to say things to you, you just know what's real. You just know the things that are real. And that's just what I think about TM. I'm going to have to just do more episodes about Transcendental Meditation, because again, this is only scratching the surface, but I'm going to go ahead and put this out today. Today's Tuesday, February. Today's Tuesday, February 17th. What's really cool about this workflow is I can produce a podcast, then within 20 or 30 minutes, just put it out on the interwebs. So today I'm going to actually do that. I'm going to put it out there really quick for mass consumption. I hope people, and I want to try to catch all those people that maybe didn't go to work today. And what better day to learn about something interesting than TM. So I hope that you got a lot of value out of this podcast. I hope you keep getting value out of this podcast. I'm trying to spread the love. Like I said, this is Frank Howard of the TotallyHooked.net podcast. This is broadcast in the Washington, D.C. area. And please visit TotallyHooked.net and subscribe on iTunes and write a pleasant thing to me, or join on Facebook. It's really important, especially in this growth phase. So have a beautiful day. Peace.